Hey y'all, welcome to First Comes Love, Then Comes Marriage podcast, season 6.
Yeah.
Okay, we're so excited. And a little intro about us. My name is Lindsey Jackson.
And I'm Aaron Jackson.
And
full government name?
Full name because I love my name.
Okay.
And we have been married for 10 strong years. We just celebrated
10 strong. You going strong? You're going strong. Okay.
10 strong years. We have 3 beautiful children.
Yes.
And a dog. And we live in New York City. That's the synopsis.
Yeah.
So,
in New York City, we were born and raised in LA.
Born and raised in LA, rep West Side.
But
we live in New York.
As we get older, the New York City is a big factor when it comes to like everything that we're doing. I was just like, yo, a lot of what we do is like main city stuff, and a lot of parenting that we do, it seems like small city, but we're doing it in New York. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, find games to do with your children and stuff like that, or play some kind of a game in the house, especially like on social media and stuff. You'll see these parents doing these fun activities in a house. They're creating murals and stuff.
Oh, you talking about like in Atlanta and stuff?
Yeah, and it'll be like these huge houses, and we are doing it in our 2-bedroom apartment in New York, and we are making it happen.
Yeah, so, get to know us. This is an exciting time.
Yeah.
Because we are always sharing what we've learned, and I think that these are tools for life. Yep. So I'm very excited because I did not know we were going to have a season 6. And then we sat down and we said, we're having a season 6.
Yep.
So yes, let's do this. This season, and we always have an overarching theme. This season, our theme is letters to our children. And we say that with the emphasis of understanding that you all are listening. But these are the letters that if our kids, and they will, want to go back to the podcast and say, what were our parents doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what were they doing back in the day? Or we recognize that once our children become adults, we will have been far removed from, say, this time in their lives, from the young adulthood. Are we young adults?
No, we are not. We are not.
Okay, but the point stands that we will be removed a little bit.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about the topics that are happening to us right now with fresh eyes, like, the parenting and pregnancy and all the things that's like, I don't want to be 30 years away from pregnancy when my daughter is pregnant and me being like, I don't know what it is, that sort of thing.
All right, it didn't happen like that with me.
Right. So we're talking about it all right now. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so this episode 1, season 6, the question is, our children are asking us, is like, how did you balance parenting, marriage, and yourself? How are we balancing parenting, marriage, and ourselves? These are the 3 categories that are big for us right now. Parenting, we have 3 children, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, okay? Marriage, we've been in this marriage for 10 years now, and ourselves at 37. 37 years
I purposely didn't say
I'm
my age.
I'm sharing. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable and sharing so they can date it and they can go back to it and be like, oh, okay. We could take some notes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's up, babe? What you got?
Oh, you're just going to blop it on there?
Well, I mean, you can start us out.
So, the interesting thing about the balance between parenting, being a dad, being myself being Aaron and also being the husband, and whatever role you and your partner decide on that. Like, what is the role of a husband? Because way back in season 1, we talked about gender roles, right?
We talked about gender roles
and how, there is an expectation. So whatever expectation that you and your partner have talked about, came up with, and agreed upon, basically. I, right now at my age, there is not going to be a balance. There's not going to be a perfect balance of like, okay, let's just do 33%, 33.33% all the way around. But there are important moments where where I feel like I'm like, okay, this is the time where I need to step in and overdose on the husbanding. This is the overdose on the dad. And the thing about two out of the three is selfless, and then the one is selfish.
And so let people tell you,
what?
Thinking about yourself isn't selfish. So you can't even, like, that word is almost like a like a no, like a hot word, because it's things people don't say anymore.
Well, I say it, and I'm talking to my kids.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, self-care isn't selfish, but selfish doesn't. It's just like people are trying to flip these negative words, and they're not negative.
Yeah, I wasn't using it. I wasn't using it in a negative way. It was just like it is a very difficult thing for me to turn on that it's about me thing. It's a lot of giving. And I realized probably 2 years ago that if I keep giving like this, it's going to end up in like self-resentment, or like just resentment towards you, resentment towards the kids, thinking like, oh, you guys took away my youth, or I had dreams and I wasn't able to, like, placing the blame on everybody else except for working on myself or taking the time out. One thing I would always say is that when you choose the right person, that person, and you make those vows and you get married, that person loves you. And that person understands and is supportive when it's like, it's me time. I remember, and also they're vigilant. As a husband, one of my jobs as a husband is to be vigilant to you. I don't know if it was last year or like 2 years ago, but you were getting burnt out, and I did. The time and I got did me
the hotel room.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm watching you, and you're doing a lot, and I appreciate, because you do a lot for the family, but you need to take a break. So I got a hotel room. I think it was like a bubble bath or something like that. And it was like, hey, I got the kids tomorrow. And the other time, like, it was becoming a lot, and I did the Mother's Day, right? Just a random Mother's Day.
It was a special Mother's Day. And like the random time of year, I don't even remember, September or something.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, this is let's do the brunch, do the breakfast and bread, and like give the flowers. And I just think it's really important to be observant, especially in my position in the family, of, okay, this is when the children really need me. Do you need me to be there? One of my things is I have a job, and we live in New York, and New York is getting more expensive, and our finances are getting crazy, and babysitters are super costly.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that later.
But when it comes to that, it's almost like, do I have to go to every child activity, every drop off, every child led drop off, or every school play and stuff like that? And it's like, one of my main things is, as long as my children know how much I love them, and I care about them, I'm not tied down to the gesture of always being at every one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
One of my ways to, I guess not like compensate, but I want to hear about it afterwards though. I'll take time,
Right. You're
even
very
though, yeah,
attentive.
after work, even if I'm tired or something, I'm like, okay, tell me about it. Sometimes their recall is not as good as me actually being there, but I'll sit there and I'll be tentative. And knowing the boys, especially, they might say like two things like it was good and then go play. And if me just being around them, they'll just start mentioning what happened. Uh so that's one of the things is like, so I say it's not about balance, it's about choice. And it's like, okay, when do you choose? And knowing if one if one is going down, invest in that one. You get it? It's
One of the
about,
3 pillars that we're
yeah.
talking about.
You don't
If
get
it's
complete balance, but
parenting,
it's a balance in
marriage,
that. What's the one
yeah.
with the plates? I don't know. By the time they get old enough, they might not even have those people. You know the plates that are on the
The
needles?
spinning,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's like, okay, well this, so I
Yes.
think it's just like that. So that's how I feel. How do you feel? I know I
Well,
talked a lot.
look, no. I think that the symbol that you gave of the balancing act is good. I don't think balance is one of those words that's not real. At least it's not real right now. There's no way that you're saying like the percentage that you can balance each one perfectly. There for me, I say this is a heavy word for me. We say it, I say it all the time. Seasons. Like there are seasons where things take precedent over other things. And just like you're saying, how do we balance parenting, marriage, and self? Well, and I read this somewhere. It's like you can have it all. Because people are like, oh my gosh, you guys have it all. You can have it all, but not at the same time. Something like that.
Okay.
And so it's like we that last year was a big parenting season. This, and I say last year not as in last calendar year, just in last year as in the season of me and what we were doing, because we had an infant and 2 children, a toddler, and we have these and entering into new seasons of their lives, a child that's going into a new school in first grade and things like another child entering into a new school. And so it was a big parenting season where we needed to show up daily. And so like you're saying, like not at every event but daily and doing things. We created that email address, our parents email,
Yeah.
that helped us to solidify our calendars, and just everything we were doing and talking about was a big parenting season. So our marriage, in a sense, took a back seat. And I remember growing up and it was like, look, marriage is first. Marriage is first. Don't let your kids destroy your marriage. That is true.
Yeah.
However, there are some times when your children do come first. You have to move things around and say like, okay, well, actually they need me more right now. And so it's not always one or the other. Sometimes it's one and. So I feel like for me, a lot of what we do right now is selfless. Like it's not about us. And we had this conversation.
You said me, and then you went back to us and me. Stop! Like
No,
I did
because
my
you did
piece
okay.
about being a
And you know
dad and a
what?
husband, and you need to do your
You know
piece
what?
about being a mother and a wife.
You're right. And
Okay.
it is hard for me, and this is a big issue too. It's hard for me to separate from us because we work as a team. And so the majority of what I do day to day depends on you doing what you do day to day. And so that's a whole nother topic, but I depend on you. Whether or not we are physically together, the other day or last week, I did like a day in the life of a Broadway mom. And it's like I can go to work and be a Broadway mom because I have you. And I know the video was a snippet. It was like everything that I do. I take the boys to school. I'm with Liv all day. I give her a bath. I wash her hair. I braid it. We do this. We do that.
You
I'm
walk the
working.
dog.
We walk the dog. It was the day is full. but I would not be able to go to work if I didn't tag you in and for you. And so people were like, she's a super mom. Like the comments was like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. And I appreciate all of that because I do work hard.
Toot toot.
Yes. However, it's so crazy because nobody said like, oh, okay, she's on stage and she's performing, but he took over like you did. So that's why it is difficult for me to be like I'm not a very I person. But then at the same time, I am able to balance me because of you. Just like how you said, like you being observant and saying like, oh, if I need a break, or oh, I mean, I take it. I'm gonna take the break.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Thank you.
Don't you threaten me with no good time.
I appreciate it. However, I am able to be a person because this is gonna sound weird, and I know the people out there, because you allow me to be able to be a person. Is that all right to say these days?
Like, yeah, I mean, this is how you feel. So it's almost like we listen, we don't judge type of thing.
I know, we listen, we don't judge. I don't want nobody coming for me and be like, yo, you back in 30.
Yeah, but it's not like you're saying I allow you by just appreciating who you are and just letting you rock.
Right.
It's not like I'm saying, oh, you could go out, you could not go out, and stuff like that.
No.
Let me just be clear. Since Lindsey is the scheduler, I depend on you way more than you depend on me. And so she has a little bit more liberties when it comes to like going out and stuff like that, because you kind of already work the schedule. Like if I don't have impromptu hangouts anymore.
Very much so.
I'm like 2 months in advance. Hey, baby, somebody mentioned possibly hanging out. So like, tell me how the budget is. Tell me how the babysitters are, and stuff like that. And Lindsey already has all that in her head, and so she could just be like, "Hey, on Saturday, I'm gonna stay later." Obviously, you don't have any plans because I run the schedule.
But this is also something that is very much for what we are going through, is that we are living in a place where we're doing it by ourselves, essentially. And so I always thought growing up that I would be next to my parents when we started having children.
Oh, I got you.
And so it's like we are in this life in New York City, and we do have one of the kids' mom is here with us, and we do have two. Only Auntie Ebony.
I know, but she's two of the children's godmom.
Oh, two of the kids. Yes. Yeah. Well, look, all of them. If you won, you for all, for real. But sure. But I'm just saying, we have a person here that helps us tremendously, and we have our friends that step in if need be. But the reality is we are working with each other.
Yeah.
And if we don't have each other, they with the babysitters, we paying somebody. And so that's another factor in the balancing act of how do we balance parenting, marriage, and ourselves. I will say, like right now in this season, if I were to ask you which one is the top priority, what would you say?
Right now. What's January? What's my top priority?
Or what's leading the balance right now? What has the majority of the pie?
I guess dad. Dad is leading. Mm-hmm. I mean, self is always the last for me. Is not leading. Husband is second. I think it'll be dad first. And then husband second, and then it'll be myself third.
Okay.
And that's let me go a little bit deeper. And that's because we're going over finances, and it's like, yo, babysitters do cost a lot of money. And we do have 3 children. So it's like, you need to get home as soon as possible and make sure that like you feed them, they're well. I've been trying to live on a sleep routine. Doing things that will be like, I mean, it always helps. Like one of the main reasons I wanted Liv, because for the last year, Liv's been sleeping in our bed.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I was determined to get her to sleep in the crib.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went away.
Yes.
You went away for a couple of days for
to visit a friend.
To visit a friend. And it was just basically I was like, okay, now it's the time. You're gonna sleep in the crib.
Yeah, you did it.
And when you came back, it was more complete, and that helped us sleeping together, like without somebody jumping in the bed. Even though boys jump in the bed all the time, but that one parenting thing wasn't necessarily parenting. That was more so husband.
That was for the marriage.
Yeah, that was for the marriage.
Yeah.
So like but right now the things that I'm doing it for the children.
What you're talking about is like, when I say balance, it's not balancing like our finances. The majority of our finances goes to our kids. So if we were saying, what are we balancing with our finances? Parenting is number one.
Yeah.
And then us probably, and then the marriage, because how much do we actually spend on the marriage? I don't know. But if we're talking about our day-to-day actions, yes, like parenting is the biggest thing that we do, because we wake up and we do for them.
Yeah.
And so that is the first thing that happens in the day, and probably the last thing that happens in the day necessarily. I think that right now, if you were to ask me right now, the balance of it all, I would say that I am pretty evenly balanced with parenting, marriage, and self, because marriage might be a little dip. But only because, man, life of the kids. But right now, because we're getting ready to go on our annual trip in remembrance of Jack, and we do prioritize us going together, but also for you as individuals to be better people, to be able to grieve and remember and love and talk and have the space to come back and be better parents, better mother, better wife. I think that bumps up the marriage a little bit. But if we weren't going on this trip, I think the marriage portion of it does take a back seat. I think I prioritize myself because I know that if I didn't, I would be in a sunken place and I wouldn't be a good parent. I feel like I can be a good wife without thinking about it, but I won't be a good parent without thinking about it.
Really? You think you could be a good wife without thinking about it?
I think that we have a foundation where if I laxed a little bit, we will be okay.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Hopefully I conveyed that in the beginning about the partner, like choosing the right person.
Right.
Especially when having children.
Right.
Choosing the right person.
Because it takes a toll. It's a strain.
Takes so much.
It is a strain on the marriage. And you don't want to hear this because, the kids are listening and they're like, oh no, we strained the marriage. But it's like, yeah, you're in our bed. Like he said, like you're in our bed. So whereas we were sharing a bed with the two of us and we could do what we want in this marital bed, if the children are in the bed, it's different. So that is an extra strain. And
also, I feel like I have stored up patience for, everybody. And so,
everybody. You want to name just the children. You have stored up patience for everybody.
I have stored up patience for everybody. And if like Shine and Action are running my patience, and then you come in after my patience have been ran.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And you say something not knowing, right? Because you're coming in from work, or you're coming in like you're just coming in dark, and you say the wrong thing. It's not because of you, but it's kind of like my patience already got ran out from the other two.
And that's what being a parent of young children will do?
I think it's going to be being a parent. Period. Like we'll see, but right now we're just parents of young
And this
children.
is
So
what they say. They're like, "What is the hardest age?" And
yeah,
people don't, everyone's.
let me tell my kids right now. This is the hardest age. Having 3 kids is a hardest age. One of the questions I wanted to ask you in particular, because I do think it's so important, is the importance of being that mom that you always wanted to be and being the wife that you always wanted to be. So where do you find the energy? Like how basically like what is the secret sauce at 37? How are you doing it?
I have to recognize when I am depleted. And I think that for me is like being very, very self-aware, because like you said, your battery, and you have this battery that has to recharge. Your battery could be full, or it could be on 40 or 30 for days. It's not like, oh, it depletes every day, but it's like, okay. And I have to recognize when I am depleted and I'm running low, because that means that I don't have it for anybody. Obviously, I have extra stored up love for my children that have come from my body. And I have extra stored up love for my husband. Because I know that it's like we in this, I love him. Boom, you know what I mean? But it's still the depletion of it all is like, oh, well, what do I give to my coworkers? Or how do I, my boss or strangers? Because we interact with so many people during the day, like just drop offs. Like I'm interacting with people that it's like, ma'am, I don't have it to, and it's so, but being a wife and being a mother right now, they seem like they go hand in hand, but they don't. I have to set aside enough energy for you. I have to set aside enough energy for them, and not compartmentalize, but really like make sure that I have it so that I can like give enough. And so that's why when I was saying like sometimes it seems like the marriage is taking a back seat, because the reality is that like, by the time I give them a bath and do their hair and read and do this and do that, is like, hey, you understand, tonight can I, and it's not even tonight. It's like, okay, for the next hour, can I just eat my food and watch TV and be still? And then like the battery has recharged a little bit. Okay, so now we can have a full conversation about, this or that or the other. So I do have this self-awareness that's like, okay, how do I recharge my battery? Does work recharge my battery? Is it just stepping away? Sometimes it's like, oh, let me go walk Christmas. Sometimes I need to walk around the block, recharge my battery, and come back in, and then I have a little bit more to give. But all of those things help me to be a wife and a mother. And then, of course, I circle back to myself.
One of the things that I learned was to shut up. And I'm still getting better at it. It's like because let's just talk about like Saturdays and Sundays. I'm usually with the kids most of the day.
Because I have 2 shows, I have work.
And the thing is, I am interacting with children all day. You come in and you had whatever day that you had. But to me, you are the only adults that I have really interacted with. And so one thing that I am getting better at is allowing you to decompress, because I want to be like, I have thoughts in the day and stuff like that or whatever. It's not like I have a notepad like, oh,
remember to tell.
Remember to tell Lindsay. But I'm like, I want to talk. I want to have a conversation about something other than. And I feel like that's something that we also had to learn being parents.
Yes.
It's kind of like we don't always have to talk about the kids. We don't
Yes.
always have to talk about the finances. We need to talk about the things that we are interested in, what kind of hobbies we are, what books are we reading, like friendship things.
That's a big one
Yeah.
because we can talk about our to-dos
All
and
the
that's
time.
all the time.
You love talking to
I'm
dudes.
like, and another, look, what else are we doing tomorrow?
You came in with the other day. You came home and I am relaxing. I just put the kids to bed. Already done the dishes. Lindsay came
Really?
home
Okay.
and you gave me a task, and you were like, "Can you do this?" And you like handed it to me, and I looked at you crazy,
yes.
and I was like, "I'm doing something." Like,
yes.
even though I was not doing any like productive thing, it was basically like, but it was like I'm doing something. Like, this is what I'm doing right now, and I mean, you didn't really get that mad. You were like perturbed for a little bit.
No,
but
I was like, oh, okay. And I just put it away. But I get what you're saying. The thing about it is like you're saying, because our lives, like we're saying, we wake up and we do,
yeah,
then we can talk about all the do's of parenting.
you said
Essentially.
doo-doo.
I
Okay.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Okay.
But we have to get back to like what are you reading? Or you always try to tell me something. I'm like, is this important? And it doesn't have to be important.
Yeah.
It has to be. It's kind of like, don't lose yourself.
Yeah, like you. One of my favorite things about you, is you do watch shows. It used to be old in my wrongs, but you'll watch a show without me. But your recap of shows,
I will tell you
it's
everything.
A1. Your recaps are A1. Like sometimes I don't even want to watch the show. I just want you to tell me what was happening. So you do also because we're not really like gossipers like that. Like
That's
work drama and stuff like that. I don't really tell you much about any drama that's going on with work, and you don't tell me about drama that's going on in your job. So it's not like, hey girl, give me the tea, and you're like, oh, you give me the tea. It's more so you're telling me an episode of House or whatever it is, like it's the drama of work.
Right.
And so I just really enjoy that. It's like one of the things. And there is a partnership component, and just knowing. Also, I would say one thing that I had to learn is speaking up for myself. And it was one thing if you noticing it, but what if you're not noticing it because of your busyness?
Right.
Right. I'm busy. You're busy. We're doing the parenting thing.
We're passing ships.
Yeah.
And we don't see what
you gotta speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if the person that you say loves you unconditionally, then they are going to love you unconditionally. And so being scared to step up or speak up is saying, okay, this isn't the person that I said I'll spend the rest of my life with. So me saying, okay, I am burnt out, or I'm getting burnt out, I am getting unhappy to you, and you taking it as an insult to you or defensively, or why are you flip it and be like, well, you're burnt out, I'm burnt out, right. I'm doing all this. And that doesn't happen with us. Because we have this podcast and we have open conversations, but we just, like you said, we had that foundation. So I would behoove all three of my children when it comes to this balancing act of being a parent, being a person, being a parent, a person, and also being a partner. Oh, I did 3 P's.
You did that. I knew you was gonna find it.
Okay. Being a parent, a person, and a partner is speaking up. And just basically saying, okay, I need this. Knowing what you need.
Okay. One thing you said, though, real quick, because I feel like you're trying to wrap it up, but you just said unconditional love.
Uh-huh.
And this is something that we've never talked about, but is marriage unconditional? Doesn't it come with conditions? This might be a topic for another
Yeah, I
time.
mean, my short answer until my immediate answer
Yes.
right off the field,
Right, because I
interviewing
just thought about it.
I would say marriage love. The marriage love should be unconditional. And I mean, we could elaborate later, but my main thought is, if you are the person, I guess the only condition is if you are the person that I say that I'm loving. Mm-hmm. So if like I love this person and I say that I know you, and it ends up that you are not the person that I say that I'm loving, you get it? Like,
well, people change.
But also,
the only reason why I say this is because when we talk about relationships, we're talking about.
Also, do people change? But keep going.
Do people change? People evolve. Do people change their inherent
nature? That's what I'm saying.
But
like the core.
Yes.
You're not going from who you are to a serial killer / like
no
prostitute.
But I have evolved where you should still get to know me. Oh, maybe I was an extrovert, now I'm an introvert. Maybe I did like this, now I don't like that. Yeah, that sort of evolving, not the actual core character of who I am.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yes, if you know the person's core character and you're saying this, then yes, it's conditional or unconditional. Uh-huh. I just was thinking that because right now, and again in 2025, we're talking about right now in the waves of 2025, the idea is that marriage, and this is not rooted in the word, this is what I'm saying, I didn't read this in the Bible, so I'm not speaking like Bible, but I was just thinking about it because I have heard that the only unconditional relationship is the unconditional relationship between a parent and a child, because you love that child no matter what. And that might even be a hot topic too.
Which is funny,
but as far as
I could kind of see that. Like, I was looking at Action the other day, and I thought to myself, I was like, I wonder if my dad sees me at that age.
Or does he see you now?
Or does he see me now? Because I'm looking at Action, and he's going to grow up, and I'm looking at this boy.
He just curled up in my lap the other day. He was like this little baby.
And yeah, I'm
but
like,
he's
how
not. He's getting to be a big boy.
And it makes me understand a little bit more how my parents kind of dismiss some of the things that I might be going through. One of the reasons why we're doing these conversations is what's it called? I wiped your butt syndrome. Yes. Right? It's kind of like, oh, you're not really going through this because, like, you can't tell me.
Right.
I taught you literally everything you know about being a human being. And so I think it's conditional. I think it's unconditional. Love should be, marriage should be unconditional.
Married love is unconditional.
Because you know what you signed up for. And if you didn't know what you signed up for, if somebody tricked you, then that's another thing. You get what I'm saying? If somebody just like played, what's it called? Who the F did I marry?
Right. Remember the catfish.
That? Yeah. Yes. You got catfish or something like that, then that's another thing.
Yes.
But to wrap it all up, do you have any like final words to the children about the balancing act, about having young children? Like, what would you say?
Yes. The moral of this episode, how do you balance the 3 P's, like you're saying? Parenting, personal,
and partnership.
I'm going to go back to communication, because once you're in a marriage, to me, it doesn't become about me. There are times when I need my time, when I need my space, my unicorn space, my passions, my goals. We talked about our word for the year. My goal for this year is purposeful. So what is my purpose? Like, as a being, as Lindsey Jolyn Jackson? Yes. However, once I said yes and I entered into this covenant, we are in this life until one of us dies together. And so
Oh, I thought you said us die together. One of us
dies
together.
together. We in this together. And so I need to communicate always with you. And that is how I balance the parenting and the partnership and the personal. Because if I'm communicating with you, I need my time. If I'm communicating with you, okay, you know what? It's about the kids. And he might say, she's talking a lot about the kids right now. He's understanding that, you know what, that's my focus right now. It's Action's birthday's coming up. If I'm communicating with you, we need time. When's the last time we went on a date? Did you pack your stuff? Because I want to do this when we go on our vacation. All of those things help with balancing life. And so even with these 3 young kids, you know, there is a way to do it. And when I think about balance, I think about, you know, the sanity of it all. There's a way to do it. And that just is communication. That's the biggest one, communication.
I'll end it like this. I will say, if the balancing is getting out of whack and you feel like you're spiraling, I will say work on yourself first, get rejuvenated, then go to your partner, and then go to the parenting. And I know that might sound kind of like, but in the feeling that I'm feeling right now, I feel like that would be the best way. I am a person that is not that good at multitasking. I have to do one thing at a time. When I was a restaurant manager, when a server was overwhelmed with multiple sections and they got triple sat or quadruple sat.
People don't know what that means.
Yeah, they could get it. They'll get it.
They get it.
It's called being weeded. If you're weeded, you're in the weeds. I would come and we would just take one task at a time and knock it out. And so if I'm feeling depression or I'm feeling resentment and I'm feeling all these things, I need to re-energize myself. And then I'll lean on my partner, because my partner should know, like, I'm getting a little bit of energy, just that little bit of energy to make the call to the partner. And they know how to energize me too. And then I'll get some more energy. And believe it or not, the children, they are draining, but I get energy off
they
of parenting too.
As well.
Yeah,
yes,
so just like I pour into them, but seeing the results of me pouring into them is energizing.
Yeah.
The other day when they did the poem, like Shine had the task of learning a poem, and I sat there and I worked with him, and he did that poem.
He did.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, he asked for a line.
Place.
Yeah. So I would just say, like, if it was like quick, what would you do? Work on yourself, always, and that's always go to God. Like, but that's like core. I know that's like a unspoken, spoken, especially in this family. But it'll be like go to God.
Yo. First things first, pray.
Yeah. First things first.
First things first, pray about it.
Yeah.
Second thing second, figure it out. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So prayer, partnership, parenting. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
All right. So thank you for joining us. Episode 1, season 6. We're talking about balancing parenting, marriage, and yourself. And, you know, we're not going to draw this out, but you can reach us on Instagram, First Comes Love, TCN.
You can subscribe and like and share the YouTube channel.
Yes.
At First Comes Love.
Yeah, and, you know, email us. Let's talk at firstcomeslovethenComesMarriage.com. Talk to you Tuesday.
Talk to you Tuesday.
You missed it.